Mom. What are you doing today?
Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence, an ideal rental setting for retirees to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We have bright 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, and wellness and entertainment programs. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Mom, call me when you're not so busy.
Coming up on this special edition of Reel to Reel. The impact of the coronavirus comes home to Western Massachusetts as churches are shuttered. And we'll highlight agencies that depend on your generosity to the annual Catholic Appeal. These stories and more are coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel. Surreal, perhaps that best describes the mood throughout our country and the world as we continue to confront the dreaded COVID-19 virus and the healthcare crisis it has unleashed. Even houses of worship have now fallen victim to this pandemic, and the Diocese of Springfield has not been immune, as I discovered earlier this week. It's now a familiar sight. Closed churches, empty parking lots, and vacant schools. An unprecedented time for the Catholic Church, says Monsignor Christopher Conley, rector of St. Michael's Cathedral in Springfield.
And in contrast to other times of emergency, the church is a place where you could go to pray. I think back to even 9/11. People went to their church naturally to be in community and to pray. This time's very different. We're told to, and with good reason, to keep the churches closed.
On Monday, March 16th, Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky issued further directives regarding efforts to prevent the spread of the coronavirus in the Catholic parishes throughout Western Massachusetts. Effective March 17th, all churches, chapels, including adoration chapels, and oratories were to be closed until further notice. All diocesan pastoral offices were also closed, with many staff members working from home. Monsignor Conley assured the faithful that even though Catholics cannot come together to worship, they are still praying as a community.
It reminds us of the great importance of the faith and how much we should all cherish the sacraments and our life together as a community of faith. But for those who at this time cannot go, they're dispensed from the obligation. So the obligation doesn't exist. They need not be there. And as soon as this crisis is behind us, thanks be to God, we'll be back right to our practice of the faith as we're used to.
Superintendent of Catholic Schools Daniel Belargin also issued guidelines for remote learning. He said that because of Governor Charlie Baker's announcement, Catholic schools will remain closed for a minimum of 3 weeks, currently scheduled to reopen on April 7th. The Catholic Schools Office will continue to monitor the state's response to this situation and recommend action based on any new information or mandates.
What we've asked our principals to do in each of the schools is to work with their teachers to develop a few weeks of instructional support that can be delivered remotely.
Belargin said he realizes this is new territory for parents and students alike, and to try not to stress about what students will be missing in terms of classroom learning.
If our kids are reading, right, and they're reflecting on what they're reading, if our kids are doing some, simple drills to maintain their skills at this particular time, if our kids are encouraged to go out and experience nature in a new way, they're going to learn something else from that maybe they wouldn't have learned in the classrooms.
Each school has provided support and direction to their teachers regarding the implementation of remote instruction. At St. Thomas School in West Springfield, Sister Patricia Houghton, principal, says she, like all her fellow diocesan school principals, are there to offer their support to teachers, parents, and students.
First of all, I commend my faculty. They have worked so hard to prepare for this moment in time that came so quickly. And for our parents, who I consider the primary educators, and those of us here that are privileged enough to have their kids, we just pick up where they left off. So now we are really partnering in education.
And Sister Houghton says that while the students are at home, the school is being cleaned from floor to ceiling.
They're doing windows, they're doing everything. And surfaces, you know, all the classrooms will have, all the desks will be power washed, all the equipment that they can possibly power wash, so that, you know, when the kids come back, everything should be really clean.
Megan Gadboys is a teacher at Pope Francis Preparatory School. Like many teachers across America, she has had to adapt to the current situation.
I have my 4-year-old daughter at home because her school is closed, and so trying to teach my students best I can and be with her and try to keep things normal is really challenging. But also you just have to get a lot more creative to try to reach your students remotely.
Ministries supported by the Diocese of Springfield through the annual Catholic Appeal are also affected by the coronavirus pandemic, including Providence Ministries in Holyoke, where Director Shannon Rutter says essential support services to the community will continue. This week, the agency announced Kate's Community Kitchen would provide warm, nutritious takeout meals, with dining services being suspended until further notice.
Even though we're suspending our dining room services, we will be having to-go meals that are being distributed right outside in our parking lot at Kate's. We are also really happy to say that we're going to remain open at Margaret's Pantry, and this is because our already small but really dedicated staff is determined to continue to meet the needs of our community.
Rutter says her agency appreciates support from the annual Catholic Appeal, a fund that is needed more now than ever before.
We are fortunate to be in a community with a huge, generous heart. You know, people have given to us through the annual Catholic Appeal, and we remain grateful. Now's the time to really consider to deepen that giving because we continue to be in service to this community that so needs us.
And you can stay up to date anytime by logging on to iobserve.org, our constantly updating news site. That's iobserve.org. And joining me now is my colleague, Kathy Harrington, manager of the annual Catholic Appeal. Thanks so much for being with us today, Kathy.
Thank you for having me, Sharon.
Now, with the masses in the diocese being suspended, how is the annual Catholic Appeal campaign being impacted?
Well, we still have donations coming in. People are mailing them in and calling my office to make a donation. They're also using the online secure site to make contributions. And it's really critical because so many of our ministries and agencies are out there trying to respond to people who are directly impacted by work closures, and they're not in a position economically to be without a paycheck for several weeks. So we need to be in the position to help them.
So how can people make their pledges or donations?
Well, for now, with the churches closed, we're asking people to mail in the pledge cards that they received by mail. They can also use the secure website. They can call my office to make a donation. If I'm not in the office, I will return your phone call. Just please leave me your name and number, and I will get back to you.
All right, Kathy Harrington, thanks so much. And Homework House in Holyoke is one of the agencies impacted by the governor's order closing schools. Before the virus began to spread, Kathy Harrington visited Homework House, where free after-school tutoring and mentoring is offered to the city's academically at-risk elementary school students. Recently, they welcomed a new director of programs, a man who is serving as a positive role model to students and their families. Kathy Harrington has our story.
It's late afternoon on a Tuesday in early March. After a long day of school, students are sitting down to tackle homework with the help of a tutor.
It was one of the programs that it's highly known among the community. Therefore, I wanted to be a part.
Angel Coriano is the new director of programs at Homework House in Holyoke. He knows what life is like for the children who come here, and that makes his new job so personal.
I feel I can succeed in this field and in this community, particularly in this community, is because I am one of them and they are one of me. So they cannot look at me and tell me that I have not had to overcome these same obstacles or very similar obstacles and struggles that they have encountered, being raised in Holyoke.
Coriano is the oldest of 3 children in his family. He says he's a product of the success of the Holyoke public school system.
My elementary school years were at McMahon, William Peck Middle School, and then I graduated with a high school diploma from William J. Dean Technical with a certificate in graphic communications as well.
After graduating from the Eisenberg School of Management at UMass Amherst, Coriano set out to devote his career to education so that he could contribute to the Holyoke community and its students.
This is really my passion, and this is what I'm committed to doing, and that was how I ended up being in the educational field.
Passion and commitment is what created this after-school home on North Summer Street.
Homework House is more than just a program. Homework House is a community. Homework House is a home for these students. Some of them really don't have a place they call home. So what I've enjoyed the most is seeing these students genuinely call Homework House their home.
The vision of 2 Sisters of St. Joseph, Jane Morrissey and Maureen Browen, since 2006, Homework House of Holyoke has achieved some impressive numbers. More than 1,500 children served, nearly 1,800 tutors and volunteers, and the program has grown to 3 locations and changed lives. Sister Jane Morrissey continues to volunteer with the children.
We know the joy of working with them over the course of a lifetime. We've seen some of our first students go to college, graduate from college, become educators, and then come back to help at Homework House.
In my short time, I've heard multiple success stories. For instance, one student who now is an adult that is a teacher, current teacher at Kelly Elementary School.
As programs director, Coriano is responsible for the daily operations at Homework House.
I work with the teachers, with the upper management, as well as with the students on a day-to-day basis amongst 3 different sites.
His work and the success of Homework House depends on a small army of volunteers.
We have student volunteers that are undergrad students from the 5 college area, as well as Holyoke Community College. We also have retired teachers, current teachers. We have community members, individuals who are just retired from their given profession and are looking to give back to the community.
The value of the volunteer staff is immeasurable. Sister Jane Morrissey agrees.
We couldn't do it without the generosity of all these people and in giving their time, and without the generosity of those agencies, churches, like the Catholic Appeal.
And with an angel at the helm, Homework House will continue to inspire and change lives and build community. For Reel to Reel, I'm Kathy Harrington.
And you can help support Homework House by making your donation right now to the annual Catholic Appeal. This year, more than ever, your gift is so important. You can make it online right now at diospringfield.org or by calling 413-452-0670. That's 413-452-0670. You can leave it your name and number, and you will certainly get a call back. And still to come on Reel to Reel, we'll show you 2 other ways your annual Catholic Appeal dollars make a difference: visiting construction of the new Harmony House in Chicopee and seeing how our church reaches out to its younger members. It's all still ahead on this special edition of Reel to Reel.
Open my eyes.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Sharon Roulier, inviting you to take time out of your busy day and join us this Sunday morning. We welcome Bishop Mitchell Rosansky as our Mass presider and celebrate the 4th Sunday of Lent. The Chalice of Salvation, Sunday mornings at 10 on 22 News WWLP, and coming up next on Albany's Fox 23 WXXA.
Hello, I'm Bishop Mitchell Rosansky from the Diocese of Springfield, Massachusetts. Every year, our diocese participates in the annual Catholic Appeal. The people of our diocese join together in sharing of their treasure to help those who are in need. Our annual Catholic Appeal literally stretches to every corner of our diocese, from the city of Springfield out to North Adams and everywhere in between. We reach out to those who are most in need, to the preborn, to the elderly, to those who are homeless and hungry, and to educate our children in our Catholic faith. So many lives are touched in a positive way by our annual Catholic Appeal, and we continue the mission and the message of the Lord Jesus to reach out to the most vulnerable, to show to them our care and concern. If you haven't already done so, I urge you to participate in our annual Catholic Appeal. Your gift makes a difference in how we as a church care for those who are most vulnerable. This is our faith, and this is our future. God bless you.
Hopeful anticipation. Interestingly enough, that sums up the spirit at Harmony House, a home for individuals with terminal illness, which recently announced that after a 4-year wait, renovation work will finally start on its new permanent home in Chicopee. Steve Kiltonick went to the dedication last December and spoke with the organization's founder and inspiration, Ruth Willemane.
On a frigid December 5th afternoon, friends, volunteers, and supporters of Harmony House gathered at 66 View Street in Chicopee to celebrate the dedication of its new permanent home.
We come before you today to bless this home and this land as a place of peace that will offer love and care for those whose journey of life is coming to an end.
Ruth Willemane, the founder of Harmony House, attended along with the mayor of Chicopee, Richard Koss, and State Senator Don Humison of Westfield, who helped secure state funding for the project. All participated in the traditional groundbreaking ceremony, which signified that the renovation of the building will now begin. Harmony House is a local nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide a loving home environment with a compassionate care for the terminally ill. It reflects the dream of Willemane, a former hospice volunteer who established Harmony House in 2017. For years, her vision was to build a permanent home for those who have no resources for special care in their final stages of life, focusing on those who live alone, lack a capable caregiver, are homeless, or a veteran. Wearing a hard hat with Harmony House's logo, a trillium flower, Ruth was overjoyed knowing that the renovation of the View Street home is finally going to begin after a 4-year wait.
Just thoughts of joy, gratitude after waiting so long for this day to happen. I'm just so grateful to God for letting me live long enough to see it after waiting 15 years for this, and I have all these people around me rejoicing.
For the past 2 years, Harmony House was temporarily located at a 3-room ranch home on Pendleton Street in Chicopee. Here, 24-hour personal care was provided for its residents by trained volunteers, including licensed nurses, caregivers, companions, and others who provided the emotional and physical support for residents. The new home will have all that and more.
It's going to have a sense of security and lots of love, and a place that the residents will be happy to call home.
Gur Ronan, the founder of Yankee Home Improvement, heads up Harmony House's building committee.
Ruth is this incredibly inspirational person, just incredibly inspirational. When every patient is ready to pass, she will be there at the moment of passing to hold their hand and offer them comfort. And that just struck me. I asked her, point blank, I said, does it wear you down being around that much death? And she immediately pushed back and said, this is what I do. This is my calling. This is what God wants me to do. And it was just so powerful. She's just even though she's a small frame, little woman, but she's just way stronger than any of the burly contractors that I work with on a daily basis. Incredible strength.
The new Harmony House sits on 2.5 acres at the end of a quiet, dead-end street. It was originally purchased as a foreclosed property in October 2015, but because of extensive renovations and legal issues, work was delayed until September 2017, when demolition started. When finished, the house will include 5 bedrooms, shared bathrooms, a large kitchen and common dining room, living room, laundry area, and room for families of the residents. A much-needed chapel is also in the plans.
With Father Dan's help, it's going to be a beautiful place for meditation, for anyone who just wants some peace and quiet.
The exterior will eventually feature a tranquility walkway and raised gardens of flowers and vegetables. Ronan said many companies, including his own, are donating materials, including windows, doors, and roofing supplies.
And watching a community come together, it's incredibly heartwarming to see people just stepping up, competitors of mine sometimes, just stepping up and saying, yeah, I'll pitch in.
Once open, even more volunteers will be needed, such as CNAs and LPNs, along with those willing to help with companionship, cooking, yard work, and clerical work.
My birthday's in March, and I'm hoping for my 85th birthday, the house will be complete or near completion.
Thus far, over 30 residents have benefited from the compassionate care of Harmony House and its volunteers. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
And Ruth Willimane was recently named a Citizen of the Year in Chicopee. Congratulations to her, well deserved. And you can help make Ruth's dream a reality by making your donation right now to the annual Catholic Appeal. This year, more than ever, your gift is so important. You can make it online right now at diospringfield.org or by calling 413-452-0670. That's 413-452-0670. Leave your name and number and you will get a call back. And finally, nearly 100 high school youth from across the Bay State gathered last Memorial Day weekend at Camp Holy Cross in Goshen for the 30th anniversary of Encuentro Juvenil. Always a powerful, faith-filled event, Nick Morganelli introduces us now to some teens that had a memorable retreat experience.
This year's theme was timeless, and the scripture on their t-shirts was taken from Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8.
Encuentro literally means an encounter, and this is an encounter with Christ. And for our youth who come here, especially to a place like Camp Holy Cross, it's a perfect place to encounter Christ. We see the beauty of nature here. We have confessions, Mass, and we have talks that help point us toward Christ.
Valerie Pedraza already has plans to attend next year, but in her freshman year in high school was reluctant to even get involved.
My first year, I didn't really want to come because it was out in the woods, but my sister forced me to, and it was like a different experience that I've ever had. Seeing so many kids my age be the same as me, all believe in God, all be Catholic, you don't really see that where I come from. Like, you see like people taking like bad paths, and I don't want to be part of that. I want to be the person that God wants me to be. Even if next year is my last year, I'm going to keep coming back and be part of the team.
Most parents drop their children off for the retreat, but one dad got to experience the weekend with his daughter.
He asked me like many times when he started coming to go, but I was like too scared to come. I was like, maybe next year, and I'd always put it off. But then this year I had a couple of people that I was really close to and I felt comfortable with, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it.
Brant Roldan joined the team 4 years ago.
The first time, I didn't know what to expect. I liked it, came back the second time, the third time, and then I said to myself, I can't wait for my daughter to share with her what I'm going through, and I pray for that.
Brant participated as a cabin leader this year.
I always wanted to work with youth because I feel like that was a calling.
As staff, they even planned skits not only as entertainment, but as a teaching tool as well. One was a highlight for Ariana and her dad.
Last night, they had all of us put blindfolds on, and we sat down, we put them on, and different people people would go up to you, tap your shoulder, and you would just have to trust that they're going to take you somewhere safe. But then I got passed off to another person, and when I felt his hand, I knew it was my dad. It's something you have to experience. You can't put it into words, what happens here. And I was really glad to have my dad here.
It's a beautiful thing what God had gave me, not only for her, but also for me and my family and my marriage.
The Encuentro experience began with Father Paul Manship, who was responsible for its longevity and success. After many years, he left the priesthood. His wife Laura was present for a tree planting memorial service as Paul passed away last year.
And so relationship always for Paul was so important. That was a guiding principle.
I consider Paul Manship is the hands of God.
Deacon Santiago Martinez was one of the first campers when this ministry began.
He put a seed in my heart, and that's why I'm here today.
Father Manship influenced his journey to the diaconate, and he views the legacy of Encuentro as a top priority.
It is important because a lot of the time we say the youth, they are the future of the church. For myself, the youth is not the future of the church, it's the now of the church. I think I'm going to start serving here when I start reading.
For Real to Real, storytelling in Goshen at Camp Holy Cross, I'm Nick Morganelli.
And we only hope that they will be back to Camp Holy Cross later this spring. Back with us again is Kathy Harrington, manager of the Annual Catholic Appeal. Kathy, how are the agencies of the Annual Catholic Appeal responding to news of the coronavirus?
Well, each one is responding as needed. For example, in Turner's Falls, the Montague Catholic Social Ministries has suspended all on-site services. They are still conducting the home visiting program by video or telephone call. And currently, the staff is coming up with a plan to make food and diapers available on an emergency basis. In Lee, the food pantry expects to continue serving customers who are now without a paycheck and expecting to see an increase in their clients. Volunteers wearing gloves wiped down the entire food pantry before and then after distributing last week. They handed out numbers, just like at the deli, and called people 2 at a time to serve them. The food pantry even purchased new grocery bags, and volunteers are pre-filling them for distribution. Many of the food pantries, remember, depend on weekly donations made by parishioners at all of the weekend masses.
And again, with the masses being suspended, how can people make their ACA donations?
Well, I encourage people to use the pledge card that was mailed to them. They can also go online to diospringfield.org/ACA and go onto the secure website to make a contribution or a pledge. And you can always call my office, 413-452-0670. If I'm not in the office, I will return your call as soon as possible.
All right, thank you so much for all you've been doing for the Annual Catholic Appeal, Kathy, and I'm sure all of the agencies and services benefiting from grants annually thank you as well. And for this week, that's Real to Real. Remember to stay informed on all of the news on how this health crisis is impacting our faith community. Log on to iobserve.org. It's your one accurate source for news on the Catholic faith, locally and beyond. That's iobserve.org. And join us next week for another edition of Real to Real, your window on the world around you. See you then.
Real to Real is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the Annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.